across Wisconsin are still dealing with the impact of severe flooding that hit our area 1 year ago today. All day long, News 3 Now will be marking the anniversary of that historic rainfall. My co-anchor Josh Spreiter, he's live from western Dane County to lead off our coverage this morning. Good morning, Josh.
Leah, good morning to you. We're coming to you from Black Earth this morning. You can see the Black Earth Creek Bridge behind me. When I was here at this time last year, the water would have been well over my head. And so far this morning, obviously, all is calm. And this is exactly the way the day started last year. But many never thought that what was to come later that day was going to happen. Now, when I was on location right here at Black Earth last year, after more than a foot of rain reportedly fell in the area, that rainfall broke a state record for the heaviest amount of fall in a 24-hour period. The Black Earth Creek Bridge was just one of the many bridges that were either damaged or washed away across southern Wisconsin, stranding thousands in communities with no way in or out. Roads disappeared, train tracks dismantled, power lost, many homes and businesses gone. Hundreds of residents had to be rescued because of that high water. It was because all of that, Dane County officials had to declare a state of emergency. It's a time in history County Executive Joe Parisi tells me in a one-on-one interview he will never forget. What were some of the biggest challenges that you guys had to overcome? Had you seen anything like this before?
Yeah, I had certainly never seen or experienced anything like this before, certainly not as county executive. And to my recollection, I've lived here all my life. I've never witnessed a rain event. My initial experience of it the day was we weren't expecting this type of rain, obviously. No one ever does. We knew it was going to rain. And that evening, all of a sudden, I started getting text messages from my chief of staff. And the messages very quickly, the severity of the situation became evident. And so then we all had to jump into action.
Now, that storm dropped more than 15 inches of rain, causing around $150 million in damage. Officials are still making fixes right now and adjusting to be ready if another rainfall event happens. The county is implementing a multi-year plan to remove sediment on the Yahara River bottom and area lakes to improve water flow. The county also purchased more sandbagging machines, a rescue boat, and weed cutters. All of it's being funded by $18 million that was put into the budget specifically for flooding that year. Now, Mazomani's fire department says they're now better equipped to respond to those flooding events. 2 new rescue boats arrived within the last couple of weeks, along with gear and each of the first responders who volunteer to be trained in swift water rescue. By this fall, about 2/3 of the department will be trained to help if and when another major flood hits.
Although I'd rather see this stuff dry rot, I know we're going to end up going out in it eventually, and hopefully we can assist how we were aided by other departments last year.
The Mazomani community raised about $20,000 so the fire department could purchase all of this after 100 houses had to be evacuated for last week's flooding. Now, of course, it wasn't just Dane County that saw the severe flooding last year. Parts of Sauk County were also hit hard as the Baraboo River swelled to near record levels in late August and early September. North Freedom, Laval, Rock Springs, and Wattawak all saw major flooding as well. And Reedsburg schools lost several days at the start of the school year last year due to flooding concerns. Sauk County ended up being one of 8 counties eligible for FEMA aid following those floods, which lasted into mid-September in some areas. And of course, plenty of damage was done across the state. Initial numbers estimated the damage to be more than $208 million. FEMA ended up approving almost $9 million in individual assistance grants to more than 2,000 people in 9 counties. They've also approved more than $9.5 million in public assistance grants to date, helping local governments repair things like roads and bridges. So the big question last year, we started the day so quiet. Where did all of this rain come and kind of what happened leading up to all of this flooding? I'm going to turn it over to my buddy old pal, meteorologist Chris Reese, with more on kind of the setup for all of this. Chris, good morning to you.
We have to look at in terms of what caused this event last year is what happened before that, and that's just the fact that 2018 was such a wet year. In fact, it was the second wettest year on record. We saw over 50 inches of rain, and we were a little over 2 inches away from being the wettest year on record. And I think had the rain fallen over the Dane County Airport, it would have been, and we'll touch on that more in just a second. Check this out. We average 34 inches of rain every single year, and by August 19th, we had 30 inches of rain. We were already at nearly an entire year's worth of rain the day before the flooding even happened. August itself of 2018 brought over 10 inches of rain. Nearly half of that had fallen, again, by August 19th. This is the day before the flooding. That entire summer had been very hot and very humid. We had high pressure over the eastern coast, and that had a clockwise flow around it that tapped into tropical moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and it just built over the upper Midwest for the entire summer. All summer long, we had several areas of showers and thunderstorms that would come through. Dips in the jet stream created a strong region of low pressure towards the end of the summer. This created several thunderstorms that dumped, a ton of rain over areas. Cross Plains, we had reports of 14.7 inches of rain. As you work your way down towards Verona, 11 inches. Shorewood Hills, 10 inches. Mount Horeb, over 8 inches of rain. But then the Dane County Airport on the eastern side of town, just under 4 inches of rain. So this is why, Josh, a lot of the flooding happened more so on the western side of town. But folks, it was really just the entire summer being so hot and so humid with several rain events that the August 20th flood event was essentially just a nail in the coffin that tipped the scales for the heavy rain, Josh.
Certainly, Dane, none of us were expecting, Chris. Thank you very much. And of course, our coverage is just beginning this morning. Coming up in our next half hour, Keely Arthur is going to join us live from Middleton. She's going to be at the Primrose School, which was one of the many schools and businesses affected by the high water there. They had to relocate for several months while they repaired about $400,000 worth of damage to several classrooms. We're going to hear from school officials on how they've been able to rebuild and recover in the past year as of a new school year. Now, of course, our continuing coverage of how communities across southern Wisconsin continues. From that historic flooding is going to continue here on News 3 Now all day long. For now, though, Leah, we're going to send it back to you in the studio. Still a lot of memories, even from us here at the scene from last year. I was talking with photojournalist Mark Schilling this morning on the way here, and trying to find our way into Black Earth last year was one of the most challenging things, and even wondering if we were going to get out of here. So I think a lot of people looking back to last year, Leah.
Yeah, Josh, a lot of us were out there. We were all out there covering this damage, this devastation extensively. I have to ask you what it's like to be back today. How are you feeling?
You know, Leah, it was kind of interesting even driving into the city. You kind of have flashbacks to last year. Obviously, where I'm standing, I mentioned earlier, that water would have been well above my head. So the fact to be even standing on dry ground this morning and seeing traffic flowing over this bridge compared to when it being shut down last year is really incredible. And coming up, we're going to actually hear from some business owners here as well after what they went through and kind of the community coming together. So a lot to look forward here this morning, Leah.
Some great reporting by my colleague Josh Breiter. Josh, thank you very much.